Good morning to you here on NBL Now. It is Thursday. We've been waiting too long. Let's be honest. There's no other way to dress this up. It is semi-finals morning and it starts today. I've got two kids. They get excited on Christmas morning. They also get excited when the Easter Bunny's coming. But they're not as excited as Derek, Rucker and I are this morning because the real stuff, the business end, starts tonight with Melbourne and Perth. Morning to you, D-Ruck.
Morning, Jack, and I couldn't sum it up better myself. And yes, just that feeling. Last night, I knew something was happening. I was having trouble sleeping, but here we go. Let's get into it.
You've been in this situation as a player, so I'm fascinated to know what this morning is like for you as a player. You wake up, you know you've got a big game tonight, but it's still 8, 9, 10 hours away. What are you doing on game day?
And that's what it's about. It's timing. It's how you conduct your life without losing focus of the game, but also not trying to mentally expend too much energy trying to play the game. And a lot of visualization, a lot of patience, and just trying to establish some type of routine. I don't care how many seasons you play in the league. When the postseason comes, it's another level of excitement, and you just got to be able to temper your emotions and be ready.
Let's start with tonight then, in that case. We'll get to Southeast Melbourne and Illawarra a little bit later on. It's branded on the NBL.com.au website. It's everywhere that everyone is talking about this series. Even people who don't know necessarily a lot about the NBL but are tuned into the finals series, they're all asking the one question, Derek. How do Melbourne stop Bryce Cotton?
You got to double team him in pick and roll situations. You can't allow easy looks. I don't believe you can afford to play drops coverage in transition. And when he's got the ball in ISO situations, he's got to see three bodies, one person in front of him, and then two guys in the lane. If I'm Dean Vickerman, and Dean Vickerman is one of the best coaches we've ever had in the competition, Bryce is getting absolutely no good looks at lane ways to penetrate. And in transition, he's not getting any good looks from the three. So I think if Dean Vickerman can get his troops to rally around that and execute that, that will help them a lot in trying to win this series.
Can you be too conscious on one person?
Jack, you heard me in the top 15. This is the greatest import of all time. No, you cannot be too cautious of Bryce Cotton. I don't care if Christian Doolittle is making layup after layup. I'm not letting Bryce Cotton get his flow on, come down here, knock down threes, and get everybody else emotionally engaged in the game. I'm taking him out 100% as much as I can.
Let's just stay with the Wildcats for a minute here. I've been interested to watch because we've had the FIBA break. There's been a lot of time for talk, obviously, and a lot of time for predictions and thoughts on the series. The closer this gets to tip-off, I feel like there's more people starting to really jump in onto the Perth bandwagon as winning this series. What's your read on this?
Well, you've got a really explosive team with the Perth Wildcats and Bryce, as we just mentioned. But Melbourne United, I think they always get the benefit of the doubt because not only of their playing roster and the experience they have as a group, but it's just what Melbourne United's about. They know how to win basketball games. They went through that down patch through the season, and so many people were saying, is this kind of the end of this run? Well, guess what, Jack? It wasn't the end of the run. They're still a championship contender, and it sounds like you might be leaning towards Perth. Someone asked me this morning who I favor in this series, and I still haven't formed an opinion. I think this is about as close a series as we've had in a number of years.
I've got all of my game notes in front of me. I've got a little bit more to do for tonight's game, but I'm 95% done, which is nice to wake up on the morning of a game and know that you're done. So there's a couple of numbers that really jump out at me here, Ruck, and to borrow a term from Damon Lowry, but styles make fights. When Perth score 100 or more, they've done it 16 times this year. When they score 100 or more, they are 14-2. When they score under 90, they're 2-7.
When a stat comes across that strongly, it means something. Not all stats mean that the game is going to play out according to that metric or that numerical information. But, Jack, I think that's the most telling one that we can come up in relation to this series. Melbourne United haven't been as good defensively this season as they have been over the past several seasons. So the impetus is on them. Can they shut Perth down? If they shut Perth down based on those numbers, they'll get away with the series. But I'm going to go a step further, Jack, and predict that the winner of tonight's game wins the series.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels as though if Melbourne can't win at home tonight, to go to Perth 1-0 down is it might be too big of a challenge.
Now, Jack, remember, we had a lot of similar thoughts in last season's championship series.
Yeah, we might not be the best guide. Hey, one that I want to throw at you, we talk so much about the stars of the series, obviously, and they get the billing that they deserve, and there's one I want to ask you about in a moment. But from a Perth Wildcats point of view, Dylan Windler, we talk about Bryce a lot. Keanu Pinder's had a really good last 3 or 4 games. Dylan Windler, when he's on the floor, Perth are plus 212 for the season. When he's off it, they're minus 30. Are we missing something with this guy, do you think?
Well, that number there conveys also the fact that his net rating is plus 16.2.
Yeah,
he is an outstandingly impactful player. When he, Doolittle, Pender, and Cotton are on the floor, they're virtually unbeatable. And the thing about Windler is the way he plays the game, Jack. He looks like he is one of those guys that people enjoy playing with. He shoots the ball well. He moves it. He passes. He's not trying to overuse the basketball. And the one thing that he's been really good at, and we saw him do this in the G League also, he's brought his rebounding talent to the NBL. And that's probably something that Perth can do at times and take over basketball games. But I think Windler is a huge, huge factor in this series. Who gets the assignment on him? Well, it's probably going to be, it could be anywhere from a guard to a guy like Jack White or Kyle Bowen. And that versatility from Windler is another reason why Bryce Cotton is able to do a lot of the things that he can do on the court, because Windler's such a good plug-and-play guy.
Chris Goulding took Perth for 46 in round 8 earlier in the season. I watched that game back yesterday, and he didn't make a great start to the game, but he caught fire really, really quickly. And once he was on fire like that, he was unstoppable. So first 4, 5, 6 minutes of tonight's game, Derek, are Melbourne making Chris Goulding a priority?
Well, this gets back to the part that you mentioned about having time off. I want my high-skilled players, and Chris Goulding is one of the most skilled players we've ever had. I want them getting early touches so that they feel the ball. They feel the speed and tempo of the game. I don't care if he misses his first 2 or 3 shots. I need his radar activated early. I don't want to wait until the second quarter for him to find his range. I want him to feel the game early on. So it'll be interesting, and it's a real thing for the fans and the viewers to watch out for this evening, is what is Dean Vickerman's approach in terms of the scheme offensively, and also what's Chris's mindset? Is he coming out there saying, you know what, I'm making Perth feel me right away, I'm coming out aggressively? That's going to be a very interesting part of the game. And if he does that, Jack, I think that would be a great move for Melbourne United.
We need a prediction from you, Derek. Who's winning tonight and why, please?
Melbourne United, 95. Perth, 89. Ooh. And I just think Melbourne United, Dean Vickerman, he loves having this break. He loves getting his troops together and doing all that Vickerman stuff that he does to win basketball games. And I think they're just going to be really locked in defensively and play one of their better games of the season.
Let's flip it to the other side then. Justin Tatum. Sorry, by the way, too, Leonard Copeland's written a fantastic piece at basketball.com.au about the Melbourne-Perth series. He talks about his own experiences as a Melbourne Tiger. They went to Perth and won the title when the Tigers broke through for the very first time. So jump on basketball.com.au. Check that out. I had a read of it this morning over my morning coffee, and it is a fantastic read. To the other side of the ledger, folks, Justin Tatum has spoken to the media and said that he wants a little bit of RESPECT. He doesn't think that they're getting the respect they deserve.
Here we go with the coaches playing the mind games. Some mind games trying to impact the referees. Some mind games you try and rattle the opponent. Some games you're trying to rally your troops. This respect thing is all about trying to galvanize his guys. He's looking for something to motivate them and give them the extra edge. Not that motivation or intensity or playing hard is ever an issue with the Illawarra Hawks. But Tatum's going into his bag, and it's a smart move. I like what he's doing.
They seem to be best, Derek, Illawarra, when they're in that mindset, don't they? They seem to be at their best when they are embracing a bit of that kind of, no one rates us, we're not getting the respect we deserve, and we're just going to come out and punch everyone in the face.
Running, attacking, playing with the right degree of recklessness, and not worrying about the consequences when they're played down there in Wollongong at the Wynn Entertainment Center. When they play like that, they're virtually unbeatable. When they get their tempo disjointed and when they don't find a rhythm to the game, that's when they're vulnerable.
Any concerns on the fact that they won't have played for 3 weeks, which Melbourne will encounter the same thing tonight, but is that a worry at all, do you think?
It's a slight concern, but again, if they come out in the first quarter, get their defensive intensity up, establish a level of physicality, and let Southeast Melbourne understand right away that we're bringing it at you, then I think all of those that break, all those concerns will be dismissed right away.
Southeast Melbourne Phoenix will play Derek Walton Jr. Josh King was really open about that earlier in the week. He said, I'm not even going to try and hide it. Derek Walton Jr. will play, but in what capacity tomorrow night?
I'd imagine 20 to 25 minutes. If he's looked good this week at training, I'm reluctant as a head coach to not play him at least 20 to 25 minutes. I don't want that guy sitting over there, and if things don't go to plan, I have to look back in hindsight and say, I wish I would have played the former championship series MVP. I need to give Derek every opportunity to find his way into the game and help me impact win.
Who's winning that series? You're going to be there tomorrow night.
Jack, you know my tiebreaker system. Do I need to rehash it? Best play
one more time for those who don't know.
When I'm uncertain, I go, who has the best player in the series? This one's difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of good players. Okay. After that, Jack, I go to who has home court advantage. And in this case, the Hawks have that. So I'm going to give them a slight edge, probably in 3 games.
Just before we finish up this morning, and we could have gone for another hour, there's that much to cover off, but Jonathan Gavoni has released his first look at the 2026 NBA draft. There's obviously this year's draft, but this one is going to grab our attention, and I think this is one that will continue to be a story, Derek, from now all the way until the draft time, particularly around 2 young men who feature in the NBL. One is part of the Next Stars program, Karim Lopez, and another who will join the Next Stars program next year in Dash Daniels at Melbourne United. The young Mexican ranked at number 6, Dash ranked at number 9 so far.
Well, Karim Lopez had a very good Next Star season. At only 17 years of age, Jack, I think he surpassed any expectations that anyone from New Zealand or in the NBL Next Stars program would have had for him. Great physical attributes. One of my favorite Next Stars of all time. I think he has just an astonishing future in front of him. Dash Daniels, again, another guy who has a great physical profile. These kids are coming through so coached up, and their skills that are at a level where it makes them NBA ready at such a young age. It's incredible. And for Dash to go to Melbourne United, now he's going to get all the habits, the basketball lifestyle stuff to make him a professional. Ariel Haporti's success in the NBA recently is a notch for the Next Stars program. Dyson Daniels is a notch for the genetic lifeline of the Daniels family. NBA scouts are looking at the Daniels now and saying, okay, these kids can go. We got to get Dash in our program when the time comes.
I think by the end of next season, Derek, the Karim Lopez story will be One of the most unique, but one of the best I reckon we've ever seen in the Next Stars program. This kid is that good already, and he's not even 18 yet. But by the time next season finishes up, I can't see a world where this kid is not a top 5 pick in the NBA draft.
Well, I agree with you. And going into NBL 26, this is going to be one of the young faces of NBL 26, I'm predicting now. And as you know, I have nothing to do with the decisions at NBL Media. But I think from a marketing perspective, Karim Lopez is someone that's got to be way up the ladder.
Hey, speaking of that, before we finish, Top 15 has landed. It's all out there now on YouTube, nbl.com.au, and all of the NBL social media. I haven't actually had a chance to talk to you about this until this morning. What's the feedback been like?
It's been good. I have received a lot of DMs, which has been pretty good for the most part. Some people get a little bit carried away, but Jack, we love the engagement. I think the engagement metrics were off the charts, and you and I do our bit, but I just wanted to give a big thanks to everyone at NBL Media, all the commentators, experts, analysts who chime in once the list is put out. Also to the marketing team and the social media team at NBL HQ, just a fantastic job. I mean, what they did for us in the studio, Jack, everything has been elevated to an extremely professional level. And I just do my simple part with coming up with the list, but I'm very grateful to everyone who puts it together and has now made it what it is. And I'm just very fortunate and blessed.
NBL.com.au. And if you haven't given your feedback to Derek, there's still time. His DMs are still open if you'd like to send some thoughts through. Ruck, you have a great day. I know you'll be watching tonight. I'll be there at John Cain Arena. You will be at the Wynn Entertainment Centre tomorrow night. So you enjoy that, and we'll catch up next week.
So one last thing. You know that basketball.com.au site?
Oh, yeah.
You said Coach wrote an article? Surely that's ghost written. There's no way he wrote his own article. Who was his ghostwriter, Jack?
It was very, very good, Leonard Copeland writing that. In between games of golf, he managed to find 5 minutes to write that.
I'll have to check that out. Good job, Coach.
See you later. Thanks for joining us on NBL Now.